10 Sacred Sites of the Bible, Divine Transformations Revealed, and one will shock you. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the Israelites stood on the precipice of destiny, their hearts heavy with anticipation as they gazed upon the rushing waters of the Jordan River. It was a moment fraught with emotion, fear intertwining with hope as they prepared to leave behind 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. The air was electric with the promise of the land flowing with milk and honey, the very land that had been long foretold to their forefathers, a reality that felt tantalizingly close, yet guarded by the formidable waters before them. Joshua, son of Nun, freshly anointed as the leader after Moses' passing, summoned the people to gather. His voice rang with conviction as he pointed them toward the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred representation of God's presence. "Tomorrow," he declared, "the Lord will do wonders among you." He reminded them of the mighty acts witnessed in their journey, how the plagues had compelled Pharaoh, how the Red Sea had parted, and how God had provided manna in the desert. Each miracle was a testimony, a divine affirmation of their covenant relationship with the Almighty. As the priests, clad in their sacred garments, approached the banks, dread filled their hearts. What if the river did not part? They exchanged solemn glances, trepidation gripping them. Yet, courage kindled within, ignited by Joshua's words when the soles of the feet of the priests bearing the ark touched the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off. Their resolve solidified, they took a deep breath, stepping forward to the water's edge, toes brushing the cold currents. Fear and faith collided in that moment, a divine intersection pregnant with possibility. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. With the weighty ark held high, the priests took that crucial step into the surging river. Suddenly, before their eyes, a great wall of water arose to the north, parting as the river's flow ceased, exposing a dry path beneath their feet. Joy erupted along the banks. The people witnessed yet another miracle, a vivid reminder of God's active presence among them as they crossed, united in faith and reverence, led by the Ark of the Covenant. Upon reaching the other side, Joshua directed 12 men, one from each tribe, to gather stones from the riverbed. These stones would serve as a memorial, a tangible record of God's faithfulness. When your children ask, "What do these stones mean?" you shall tell them about the mighty hand of the Lord that brought us out of Egypt. The memory of this holy moment would linger through generations, a sacred testimony of transformation. What awaited them now as they stood on the threshold of the Promised Land? Amid the echoes of doubt rippling through the crowd, a flame of hope flickered. This river crossing marked not just a physical transition, but a profound spiritual awakening. As the stones were painstakingly arranged into a memorial, hearts stirred in prayer and anticipation. Mount Sinai loomed in their memories, the thunderous voice of God echoing through time. Would they remain faithful, or succumb to the pitfalls of disobedience as their ancestors had? This was a pivotal moment, not merely a crossing of a river, but the inauguration of their identity as a people chosen for God's promises. The Jordan and the stones would forever testify to their journey from bondage into freedom, marking a divine beginning that stretched into the unknown future. What stories would unfold as they moved forward into their inheritance? The anticipation crackled in the air, and the road ahead shimmered with the promise of God's unfolding plan. And it came to pass, when all the people had crossed over the Jordan, that the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Command the priests who bear the Ark of the Covenant to come up from the Jordan." So Joshua called to them, and they emerged from the riverbed, the very feet of the priests touching the land once again. As they ascended from the waters, the moment was filled with a silence that spoke volumes of God's miraculous power. The river resumed its raging course, and the people marveled in awe at what their eyes had witnessed. The hand of the Almighty was unmistakably at work. An overwhelming wave of gratitude surged through the crowd, and the sense of divine presence enveloped them in sweet certainty that God was indeed guiding their every step. Then Joshua summoned the 12 men he had appointed, one from each tribe, and instructed them, "Go into the midst of the Jordan, to the very place where the priests stood firm, and take up each of you a stone upon your shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel. These stones shall be a sign among you, when your children ask in time to come, saying, 'What do these stones mean?' You shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it crossed over the Jordan, and these stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel forever." The men obeyed Joe's command, gathering the great stones, heavy and rough-hewn, and brought them up from the riverbed, placing them in a heap at the site of their camp. There the Lord instructed Joshua further, saying, "In this way you will ensure that the story of my deliverance will be told from generation to generation." As the sun set behind the hills, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the people gathered around the newly erected memorial, hearts full with what God had done. Joshua, propelled by the spirit of prophecy, spoke to them once more, "Tonight, remember this moment. Remember the power of your God who has brought you through the waters. He has delivered you. He has chosen you." And as the first stars twinkled overhead, the Israelites poured out their gratitude in prayer and psalm. The sound of their voices lifted up to heaven filled the air, an offering of worship echoing against the land that was rightfully theirs, a land promised to their forefathers. But as the day's fervor began to settle, a whisper of uncertainty lingered like a shadow. How long would their hearts remain steadfast? Would they remember to keep the covenant? As the watchmen of the night took up their vigil, doubts slipped into minds like shadows in the recesses of night, and the Lord spoke to Joshua again, revealing hidden wisdom. "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you," he declared, "and this day shall be a day of remembrance. Keep your eyes upon the signs of my glory. For as I have empowered you to cross, so shall you be empowered to conquer. Only be strong and very courageous." Though the path stretched ahead laden with uncertainty, Joshua felt a surge of strength emboldened by the Lord's words. Instinctively, he raised his eyes to the horizon, pondering what lay beyond. The cities of Canaan waited, fortified and proud, yet unknowing of the storm that approached. In the name of Israel's God. And the hearts of the people glowed a new flame of courage. United under the banner of remembrance, they looked forward not with mere anticipation but with the unshakable faith of the chosen people who had seen the hand of God move mightily. Yet, the Lord spoke yet again, lingering in Joshua's thoughts, "Behold, the promised land is filled with blessings, but be cautious, for within it lies your greatest test." What test awaited them? What steps led into the heart of their divine destiny? Unbeknownst to them, the unfolding of God's sovereign plan was just about to begin. And it came to pass, when the dawn light broke upon the land, that Joshua rose early and gathered the people. He stood before them at the foot of the memorial, his spirit ignited with divine fervor. "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you," he proclaimed, echoing the sacred mandate given by the Almighty. The Israelites, filled with anticipation and wonder, set themselves apart, cleansed in heart and spirit. They offered sacrifices, and the aroma rose to the heavens, a pleasing scent unto their God. As they waited, murmurs of courage rippled through their ranks, stoking a fire of faith that had been rekindled by their miraculous crossing. As evening approached, the Lord spoke again to Joshua, saying, "This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Command the people, saying, Prepare to march to the city of Jericho, for I have given it into your hand." With the voice of authority, Joshua commanded, "Behold, the Lord has delivered the city into our hands. We shall march forth, for the victory is ours." A collective cheer erupted from the hearts of the warriors, echoing against the hills, but in their shouts, a caution lingered, for the walls of Jericho loomed before them, strong and fortified. The next day, as the sun ascended, Joshua gathered the mighty men of Israel, instructing them according to the divine command. "March around the city once for 6 days, and on the 7th day, you shall march around it 7 times, and the priests shall blow their trumpets. When the trumpets sound, the people shall give a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat. As they prepared, the priests bore the Ark of the Covenant at the forefront, a symbol of divine presence amidst the hosts of Israel. Together they formed a procession, going in silence around the mighty walls, the sound of their footsteps mingling with the breath of anticipation. The people of Jericho, alerted by the unusual procession, watched intently, perplexed by a show of faith, questioning what strange event unfolded. Yet, their hearts were hardened against the God of Israel, and fear began to weave its thread through their ranks. On the seventh day, as dawn broke anew, the Israelites rose early, hearts pounding with the rhythm of divine promise. They marched around the city for the seventh time, the air thick with expectation. At the sound of the last trumpet, Joshua raised his voice, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." As their shouts broke forth, an earth-shattering tremor echoed, the very stones of Jericho cried out, and the high stronghold crumbled beneath the sovereign hand of God. Dust swirled as the walls collapsed, and a mighty roar of victory erupted from the Israelites, for the Lord had delivered as he had promised. Yet within the chaos, a glimmer of grace shone through. For Rahab, the woman who had shielded the spies, her house remained untouched, a testament to God's mercy. "Bring out the woman and all who are with her," commanded Joshua, revealing the heart of God toward those who walk by faith. As the dust settled and the echoes of triumph resonated, Joshua offered thanks to the Lord, recognizing the unfolding of divine strategy in the midst of their conquest. The victory over Jericho marked but the beginning, as the Lord spoke again to Joshua, saying, "Fear not, there are many more lands to conquer, but I will be with you every day, unto the end." What shadowy paths of conquest lay ahead? Would they learn to trust in his mighty hand amidst the trials yet unseen? In the quiet of the moment, a reminder lingered, for every step they took would further reveal the depths of God's sovereign plan woven through battles, blessings, and a relentless promise. And it came to pass, after the walls of Jericho had fallen, that the hearts of the Israelites rejoiced, for the Lord had gloriously delivered their first city into their hands. As the dust of Jericho settled, Joshua, the servant of the Lord, commanded the people, saying, "Consecrate the city and all that is within it to the Lord. All silver and gold, and vessels of bronze and iron are consecrated to the Lord, and they shall go into the treasury of the Lord." Thus, the people obeyed and gathered together the spoils of conquest. They marveled at the treasures that lay within the ruins. Gold, silver, and fine garments glimmered amidst the debris, proof of God's abundant provision and favor upon his chosen ones. Yet amidst the celebration, a shadow loomed. Joshua sent men to Ai, the next city on their journey, saying, "Go up and spy out the land." They returned with a report, declaring, "The men of Ai are few. Let not all the people labor to go up against them, for they are but a handful." Their overconfidence stirred in the hearts of men as they prepared to secure another victory, but alas, unbeknownst to Joshua and the people, one among them had breached the covenant of the Lord. Achan, son of Carmi, had taken of the devoted things, and the anger of the Lord burned against Israel. As the hosts of Israel approached Ai, they were struck with fear, as their hearts swelled with pride, thinking of past triumphs without humbling themselves before God. In the first encounter against Ai, the Israelites were fiercely repulsed, the men of Ai chasing them down the slopes, causing a great defeat. Joshua, witnessing their disgrace, rent his clothes and fell before the Lord, crying out, "Alas, O Lord God! Wherefore hast thou brought this people over Jordan, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us? Would to God that we had been content to dwell on the other side of Jordan." His voice trembled with despair, for he could not understand why the Lord had allowed such defeat. The Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Get thee up, wherefore leest thou upon thy face? Israel hath sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them." In his righteous anger, God revealed to Joshua that someone among them had sinned, causing a breach of faith. Joshua rose, filled with resolve, and commanded the people to sanctify themselves, for the next day, the Lord would show who had committed the transgression. He gathered the tribes of Israel, and the lot fell upon the tribe of Judah. The families were brought forth until Achan stood revealed. With a heavy heart, Joshua confronted Achan, asking, "What have you done?" Trembling, Achan confessed, "Truly I have sinned against the Lord, for I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold. I coveted them, and I took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent. At the words of Achan, a silence enveloped the assembly. The gravity of his sin weighed heavily upon them, for they understood the cost of disobedience. Achan and all he possessed were taken and destroyed, and the Lord's anger was turned away. After they returned to obedience, the Lord commanded Joshua, "Lift up your spear toward Ai, for I will deliver it into your hands." And thus, they set a trap, drawing the men of Ai out, and Joshua led the Israelites to victory. In this sequence of events, the lesson stood stark before all: the holiness of the Lord was not to be taken lightly, and he was a jealous God, demanding fidelity. As they mourned for Achan, a question lingered among the people: what further trials shall test our faith as we tread onward? The journey had just begun, yet it remained clear: the Lord's plans were shrouded in mystery, and in each conquered land yet to come, they would discover deeper truths about his sovereign will and unfathomable grace. And it came to pass, that after the victory of Ai, the hearts of the Israelites were filled with courage, for they witnessed the power of the Lord manifest among them once more. The Lord had commanded Joshua, saying, "Fear not, neither be dismayed, for I have delivered into thine hand the city and the king thereof." Thus, the people fixed their eyes upon the lands that lay ahead, eager to claim that which the Lord had promised. As they continued their journey, the counsel of Joshua directed them towards the mountains of Ebal and Gerizim, which the Lord had instructed Moses to declare as a place of blessing and cursing. There, Joshua called forth the entire assembly of Israel, standing among the people, his voice resolute. "Hearken, O Israel," he proclaimed. "Today, we shall establish the covenant of the Lord in this land." The people responded with joyful hearts, assembling in the valley between the mountains. 6 tribes stood upon Mount Gerizim, ready to proclaim blessings, while the other 6 stood upon Mount Ebal, called forth to utter curses. The echoes of their voices resonated through the valleys as the commands of the Lord were declared, affirming their fidelity and commitment to him. "Cursed be the man that mocketh any graven or molten image," the voices of Ebal rang, while unto Gerizim flowed words of blessing. "Blessed be the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly." As they uttered these truths, the air was thick with a sense of divine presence, and the very earth quaked under the weight of their commitment. As they signed their hearts to obey the Lord, a brightness shone forth, as if the heavens themselves leaned in to witness this sacred moment, affirming their choice to be a people set apart. Yet, the adversary lingered in the shadows, seeking to sow discord among the chosen. The Israelites had made a covenant with the Lord, but amidst their joy, not all hearts were in unison. A spirit of fear continued to whisper, "What now shall we face? Will we be able to conquer every city?" Their minds strayed from their covenant calling, and doubt began to take root once more. At that hour, the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Take thee a stone and write the words of this covenant in the wall of the altar that you shall build unto the Lord." Thus, they gathered stones from the land, forming an altar, whereupon Joshua inscribed the laws of God, a physical reminder etched upon the spirit of the people. "This shall stand as a testimony between thee and thy God," he declared. After the altar was built, Joshua prepared offerings before the Lord, and the people were commanded to rejoice in the presence of their God. It was then that the sound of rejoicing and offerings filled the air, a beautiful symphony of praise, for they understood that their victories were not won by their hands alone, but by the strength of the Lord who fought for them. Yet, a subtle question stirred among the people: what next awaited them? As they returned to the path that led deeper into the promised land, a fearsome enemy dwelled to their south, plotting to thwart their mission. It was then that the Gibeonites, a distant people marked by cunning, approached the Israelites with deceptive garments and tired donkeys, declaring, "We are come from a far country, we seek peace with thee." And as Joshua scrutinized their words and attire, a doubt sprang forth. A realization gripped his heart. Could this be a test of our resolve? The question echoed through the assembly, for they had yet to learn that the morsels of deception could often lead to the revelation of divine purpose. What lies ahead for the people of Israel as they wrestle with the cunning schemes of the Gibeonites? Would they discern truth amidst the lies woven by the enemy? Only time would reveal God's greater plan, for his sovereignty guides even through the snare of treachery. And it came to pass, that as the Gibeonites drew near, the leaders of Israel gathered in council, their hearts weighed down with uncertainty. "What shall we do?" they questioned among themselves, for the words of the Gibeonites seemed plausible, and their disguises held the semblance of truth. Yet, Joshua was not without wisdom. He beheld the situation with a discerning spirit. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites, and was moved to ask, "Who are you, and whence come ye?" The Gibeonites replied, "We are thy servants. We have come from a far country because of the fame of the Lord thy God, for we have heard of all that he did in Egypt, and of all that he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan." Their voices dripped with feigned humility, yet the spirit of suspicion lingered in Joshua's breast. "Wherefore shall we believe your words?" Joshua pressed, his heart seeking the counsel of the Most High. A flood of memories besieged him, the triumphs over Jericho and Ai, the commandments established on the mountains. Yet he hesitated, for he had not sought the counsel of the Lord in this matter. In that sacred moment, the assembly fell into a solemn silence, feeling the weight of their leader's uncertainty. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows, as the Gibeonites stood before them, their faces painted with anxiety. What if their deception was discovered? And the Lord spoke not unto Joshua that day, which led to the fateful decision. Without inquiring of the Lord, Joshua made a treaty with them, conferring upon them safety. "We shall not smite you, nor your lands," he declared, and the Gibeonites rejoiced, feigning relief. Days later, whispers began to circulate among the tribes. "Did we not become prey to the cunning?" some would say, as doubts began to overshadow the newly forged covenant. The Gibeonites took their place amongst the Israelites, serving them, but the seeds of mistrust began to sprout in the hearts of some. Then the leaders of Israel were approached by the very kings whom they thought they had conquered, the kings of the Amorites, who were furious that a covenant was made with their supposed enemies. "Rise up, O kings," they declared, "for these Gibeonites have deceived you, and among us have now cast their lot." Their voices rumbled like thunder across the land, the sound of alarm surged through the camp of Israel, and fear gripped them once more. Joshua saw the dread on the faces of his people, and at that moment, he knew that their peace had come at a cost, a price of integrity. In the darkened night, as the people murmured and conspired, Joshua sought the face of the Lord in earnest prayer. "Show me thy ways, O Lord, teach me thy paths," he cried out, returning to the heart of the covenant, to seek divine wisdom once again. As dawn broke, revealing the splendor of a new day, a light pierced through the confusion, a glimpse of God's sovereign hand. "Therein lies a lesson," the Lord whispered to Joshua, "a reminder of the necessity of prayer, the depth of discernment, and the dangers of relying upon one's own understanding." And thus, the reader is left pondering, what blessing or burden shall arise from this bond with the Gibeonites? What divine purpose awaits to be revealed through this unfolding mystery, where deceit meets the providential grace of the Almighty? The journey of Israel continues, enveloped in the threads of God's ultimate plan, drawing them closer to the heart of their covenant with Him. And it came to pass, that the sun rose in the east, casting the camp of Israel in hues of gold. Joshua, now stirred with his newfound resolve, convened the elders and leaders. A weighty silence hung over them, like the heavy dew upon the grass, as they awaited his words. "Brethren," Joshua began, his voice steady with divine purpose, "though the covenant we have made with the Gibeonites is wrought with uncertainty, the Lord has reassured me of his presence and guidance. We must honor our vow." The faces of the leaders reflected a mixture of apprehension and reluctant acceptance. As they deliberated the path forward, a messenger hurried into the camp, his face flushed with urgency. "O Joshua, hear me. The kings of the Amorites band together to strike against Gibeon, for they are fearful of their alliance with us. They seek to lay waste to their city." The camp erupted in an uproar, murmurs spreading like wildfire as concern gripped every heart. "I urge you, soldiers of Israel," Joshua called, lifting his hands in supplication, "we cannot abandon the Gibeonites. Prepare yourself, for we shall go to their aid. The Lord our God is with us, He will fight for us." Though their hearts trembled, determination soared as the people gathered their strength. clad in armor and armed with faith. As twilight fell, they marched through the valley, their ranks formidable, yet their hearts remained heavy with the burden of the promise made in haste. The air throbbed with anticipation, each footstep resounding against the ground, a drumbeat of divine purpose. Upon approaching Gibeon, they beheld a great assembly of Amorite kings, their countenance swirling with rage. A roar of battle erupted as contrasting forces clashed, Israelite resolve against Amorite might. The clash of swords and the cries of the valiant filled the air. Yet amidst the chaos, Joshua lifted his voice unto heaven, beseeching, O Lord, let thy power rain down, and let the heavens declare our victory. The sky grew dark, with clouds swirling overhead as if the very forces of nature were summoned to Israel's aid. And lo, the sun stood still in its course, a divine miracle poised to grant victory. The Lord had opened his heavens and sent forth his hailstones, smiting the Amorites with swift justice. With each mighty blow, Israel surged forward, emboldened by the presence of the Almighty. Then in the midst of battle, as Joshua fought valiantly, the specter of doubt hovered still within him. Have we not been true? He pondered, yet he resolved, for the Lord has spoken. He recalled the warnings hidden in the ancestral scrolls, a reminder to remember the commandments and to remain faithful. His word surged forth, we do not fight for ourselves, but for the honor of God's name. The tides turned, and soon, the Amorites fled as fear gripped their hearts. Reeling from despair, the kings fell before Joshua and his people like autumn leaves in the wind, unable to withstand the weight of the covenant God had forged. The victory was utterly complete. As daylight broke, illuminating the bloodied ground, Joshua's heart swelled with both triumph and trepidation. What have we awakened? He mused quietly, for in our haste, we have embarked on a path intertwined with destiny. And even as peace settled over the land of Canaan, a shadow loomed on the horizon. For the day of reckoning had not yet passed, and God's full plan, both judgment and mercy, lay hidden just beyond the veil of sight. The Gibeonites, now entwined in the fabric of Israel, held secrets of their own, a prophecy yet unfulfilled that would shape the destinies of nations to come. What mysteries shall unfold, intertwining grace and grave consequences, as they walk this path destined by divine hands? And it came to pass, on the morrow after the battle, that Joshua stood before the elders of Israel, with a heavy heart and a spirit attuned to the whispers of the Almighty. In the quietude of early dawn, as the sun painted the heavens with hues of crimson and gold, he called for the leaders to gather. The air was thick with the remembrance of the victory, yet a solemn weight rested upon their shoulders. Israel, hear me. Joshua declared, his voice echoing with authority. The Lord our God has granted us victory against the Amorite kings, but he commands us to seek a deeper understanding of his purposes in this land. For the Lord is a God of covenant, and we must not forget the binding agreement we have made with the Gibeonites. The men exchanged wary glances, for they knew the Gibeonites had deceived them. Yet the hand of the Lord upon Joshua tempered their thoughts, reminding them of the promise and grace that enveloped their journey. What shall we do? One elder questioned, wrestling with his conscience. Let us inquire of the Lord, Joshua replied with fervor. For in the midst of our trials, even when we stumble, God's mercy prevails. Thus, the priests of Israel gathered and brought forth the Urim and Thummim, sacred tools for divine guidance. They petitioned the Lord on behalf of the people, seeking enlightenment regarding their next steps. As silence enveloped the camp, a stillness followed, and then the word of the Lord came forth. Do not fear the Gibeonites, those sacred words rang clear, for they shall be as a sparrow under my wing. By honoring your vow, you shall dwell in harmony, and I shall lead you into the fullness of this land. With hearts lightened, Joshua and the leaders returned to the Gibeonites, who awaited them with trembling. People of Gibeon, Joshua spoke resolutely, we have forged a covenant in the sight of the Lord. You are to remain among us, and we shall protect you from enemies who seek your destruction. The Gibeonite leaders bowed low, gratitude and fear intermingling in their hearts. Your words bring us solace, O Joshua, they replied, for we have seen the hand of your God in battle. We shall serve your people and share our lands in mutual respect. As the days passed, the Israelites and Gibeonites worked alongside each other, laboring for the prosperity of their shared dwelling. Yet, unbeknownst to them, deep within the heart of Canaan, a dark plot brewed. The remaining kings of the Amorites, seething with vengeance over their defeat, convened in secret council. "Let us unite our strength," they conspired, "and we shall obliterate this alliance that has arisen from our ashes. For they have made a mockery of our valor." As the sun sank low, casting an orange glow, spies slipped through the shadows to prepare their siege against Gibeon, the heart of their strife. Meanwhile, the Lord stirred in the heavens, aware of the impending conflict that in this solemn unity, unseen challenges loomed closer for both Israel and Gibeon, shadowed intentions ready to clash against the covenant promise. The air thrummed with tension, as Joshua fell to his knees in prayer, beseeching the Almighty for wisdom and strength. "Will you not show us, O Lord?" he cried, "for we dwell not in ignorance of the schemes that threaten your people." And the Lord replied to Joshua's cry, "Behold, I am the God who sees, and I will be your defender. The time is approaching for my righteous judgment to manifest, through this trial that shall reveal my glory." Thus, the stage was set for a divine confrontation between the schemers of sin and the people chosen for promise. The threads of fate were woven tightly, as the story of Israel and Gibeon unfolded against the tapestry of God's sovereign plan. But what lay at the threshold of battle remained enshrouded in mystery, a revelation waiting to pierce the darkness and light the path ahead, igniting the direction of all nations to come. And it came to pass, when Joshua arose from his prayer, that a great peace descended upon him, overshadowing the fears that had gripped his soul. He turned to the assembled leaders and spoke with fervor, "Let us ready ourselves. We shall meet the challenge that is coming, for our God has gone before us." The elders, though emboldened by Joshua's spirit, exchanged somber looks, for the darkness of the plot against Gibeon weighed heavily upon them. But in their hearts also burned the truth God had promised to defend them. They readied themselves, preparing the warriors of Israel, each man sharpening his sword and donning his armor, ready for a confrontation that loomed like storm clouds over the horizon. As the night fell, the voices of prayer mingled with the clinking of iron. Mothers gathered their children close, whispering tales of valor and divine intervention. It was said among them that God of Israel, who parted the seas and brought down the walls of Jericho, would not forsake his people. In the midst of the preparing circle of warriors, a young man named Caleb, zealous and fervent, approached Joshua. "I will go as a scout, to seek the whereabouts of our enemies. For surely, the Lord will reveal them to me." "Go then, and may the Lord be with you," Joshua replied, sensing the courage and conviction in his heart. Caleb slipped into the night, guided by the call of destiny and a heart steady with faith. He moved silently through the shadows, eyes keenly attuned to the rustle of leaves and the whispers of the wind. It was then, among the hills that shadowed Gibeon, that he spotted the gathering of the Amorite kings, a coalition of hatred and wrath. The leaders sat in secret, their faces illuminated by flickering torches, plotting their wickedness. "At dawn, we shall strike. Let their covenant be a snare unto them." Caleb, hiding behind a thicket, held his breath, his heart pounding like a drum in the stillness. He longed to betray their plans but knew he must return to Joshua with stealth, lest the darkness overcome him. With swift feet, he retraced his steps, anticipation brimming within him like a burning fire. As dawn's first light broke, Caleb entered the camp, where the people of Israel were gathered, fervent prayers rising as a fragrant offering before the Lord. Joshua sensed an urgency in the air as Caleb approached, both breathless and radiant. "What news, O son of Jephunneh?" Joshua inquired, holding the attention of the assembly. "The enemy is near," Caleb replied, his voice resolute. "They conspire to attack Gibeon at dawn, yet our God is with us." A hush fell over the crowd, their faces reflecting a mix of fear and resolve. Joshua's heart soared with assurance as he called upon the people. "Arise! Equip yourselves for battle. The Lord has declared victory over our foes today. We shall go forth, trusting in the promise of our God." As the sun fully rose, casting a golden hue across the land, the Israelite warriors moved as one, an indomitable force fueled by faith. They marched towards the Gibeonite city, the sound of their footsteps echoing like an approaching storm. In that instant, the heavens opened, and a great awe fell upon the people, for it was said that God sent a mighty wind to stir the clouds. As they approached the Amorite army, the earth trembled beneath the burden of righteous fury, but lo, as the first clash of swords rang out, a voice echoed across the battleground, a divine sound of thunder enveloped in grace. "Do not fear, for I am with you, my hand shall guide your swords." And so it was, the battle was joined, and the angels in heaven looked upon the spectacle below with eager expectation. Unbeknownst to the warriors of either side, the outcome was woven into the tapestry of God's sovereignty, hidden truths about to be revealed, light piercing even the darkest night. But deep in the hearts of the people, a question stirred: what mighty act was the Lord preparing, and how would this battle forge their identity among the nations? Uncertain yet hopeful, they knelt in silent awe, waiting to witness the next unfolding chapter of His grand design. And it came to pass that in the heat of battle, the air thick with the clash of swords and the cries of valor, the God of Israel stirred the heavens. Joshua, deeply anchored in faith, lifted his voice unto the Almighty: "O Lord, let your light shine forth. Grant us victory this day." The sun hung low, casting a radiant glow upon the battlefield, a divine promise glimmering in the dawn, and lo, the Lord responded. The sky darkened, a furious tempest brewing above the Amorite kings, as hailstones fell from heaven, a manifestation of divine wrath upon those who stood against the covenant people. The Amorites, stricken by fear, faltered at the might of the Almighty, their hearts trembling as the Israelite warriors surged forward with courage renewed. As they charged, an angelic host descended upon the scene, igniting both fear and awe within the hearts of the adversaries. The very ground trembled beneath the heightened truth: the God of Israel was mighty to save. Each blow struck was a declaration of His unwavering promise. And as Joshua fought valiantly, the awareness of the covenant enveloped him. They were not merely fighting for survival, they were champions of divine destiny. "Fear not," Joshua cried, rallying his men amidst the chaos. "Today, we fight not only for ourselves but for the glory of the Lord who has gone before us." As his words echoed across the hills, a fervor arose among the Israelites, their souls ignited by the courage that comes from divine assurance, and it was on that extraordinary day that the sun stood still, its radiant light halting over Gibeon, a miraculous pause in heaven's decree signifying that the battle was the Lord's. The earth itself cooperated with heaven's charge as time seemed to stretch, allowing the warriors to pursue their foes, and they struck them down one by one, until the Amorite confederacy lay in ruins, their pride reduced to dust. The thrill of victory roared in the hearts of the Israelites as they witnessed the hand of God move miraculously upon the field. When the dust of battle settled, and the breath of the Almighty hovered over the land, Joshua offered a heartfelt prayer. "O Lord, thank you for your unfailing compassions. You have fought for us and shielded us from harm." The warriors, bruised yet exalted, gathered around him, hearts uplifted in gratitude to the God who had made all things possible. Thus, the days unfolded, and a covenant developed between Israel and Gibeon, a union defined not merely by treaty, but through shared purpose and divine guidance. As the Israelites learned to see in the Gibeonites fellow travelers on the road of faith, a transformation burgeoned within their ranks. Together they cultivated the land, sowing seeds not just of crops, but of the testimony of God's enduring grace. In the midst of unity, a lesson unfolded for generations to come, the call to seek counsel from the Lord, for even in moments of human error, the Almighty orchestrates His sovereign plan for purpose greater than any man could fathom. The Gibeonites, once cunning in their deception, became a people recognized for their faithfulness and service, woven into the very fabric of God's people. As Joshua approached the twilight of his time on earth, he gathered the people at Shechem, beside the sacred oak where Abraham once stood, and spoke with fervor. "Choose you this day whom you will serve." His voice rang through the valley, crossing generations, challenging hearts to remain steadfast in their covenant commitment to the Lord. "For I and my house will serve the Lord." With eyes lifted to heaven, the people exclaimed, "We too will serve Him, for He is our God." And so it was that they established their hearts in covenant, walking forth into the promise with unshakable faith, knowing that the God who had brought them through the waters of the Jordan and the walls of Jericho would guide them still, and the nation flourished, strengthened by the memories of faith, victories, and the bonds of belonging that tied them to one another in God's grand narrative of redemption. The tale of the Gibeonites. And the Israelites forever etched as a testament to God's enduring mercy, inspiring generations to cherish covenant with the Almighty who fulfills every promise. With reverence, let us remember the divine orchestration we have witnessed, and hold fast to the lessons of His faithfulness. As we seek the Lord, let us remain committed to prayerfully discerning His path, for He stands ready to act on behalf of His people. We invite you today to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss any future stories of divine promise and power. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to share the love of Christ with those in darkness. Comment below with your reflections, and tell us how this incredible story of Israel and Gibeon has impacted your faith. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience the mighty works of our God. Don't wait even one more second. Let us spread His truth together.